Computer. Lights.
Good morning, everybody, and happy Thursday. Let's see, what's it there? I always have problems that I'll bump my head on the microphone, so I try not to bump my head on the microphone. So we're going to be working today on page 5. I feel like we should do a couple of things. One of them is we need to look at. First of all, I think this is a good page for us to decide to put in a page number. So we'll have to think about this, right? So we think about page 1, then 2, then 3, then 4, then 5. So this is on this side. And watch, this will be completely it will remember every last detail of this because this is the one time that I don't want it to remember. Actually, I think I put it in the center of this box. There we go. So I think we made page 2, page 1 by accident. I think I'm going to have to go back and fix that. It doesn't surprise me, but, it's a thing. All right. Now we've made this. And you know what we could do? And I have done this in the past, and I don't know why I don't do this anymore. Right? So this was page 4. Let's do this. Let's open the page and put it in the bottom. Right? Oh, copy. Paste. I'll take you and rotate you. Now the truth is that it's not going to fit correctly, and I know that. No matter which way we do this, it's going to be off by something. It's still thinking. There we go. And if we put this on multiply, we'll see that no matter what, we've kind of and part of this is because the manga style pages are of a different size than your average okay. Now we can do this where this is lined up roughly. Okay, so here's what we're going to do next. We've done this. This just sets up the where we are on the page, how we're doing this, stuff like that. I'll delete that because I don't need it. Okay, the next thing that we probably ought to do, because it'll be easier, do not save. It is bring up the Word document, right? So the script looks slightly different than I've got here on this. So I'm wondering if when I had done this before. I'm trying to think this through. Okay, so here's what I think we're going to do. We're going to take the frame tool, because it doesn't really matter at this point in time. And we're going to... I like the idea of these frames being off like that. And then this one's going to be off as well. Put that one there. I kind of like them being off slightly. Oh, come on. Okay. As we've said before, the ones that are off canter are ones where Chang is, not doing what she's supposed to be doing. She's not feeling well, or she's not acting well. Right. She's still drunk, but not as drunk. So I'm not going to make the panels as cantered. She's sobering up. No, thank you. We haven't gotten to the art part, though. We're just setting up page stuff, though. But thank you, cool art man. Smeared poo. Smeared poo. So, we're on page 5 of this comic that I've been doing. And what we've got here is 7 panels. This one's going to be an open panel in the middle. So what I'm going to do is, since that's an open panel in the center, I'm actually going to go down here to this background, and we're going to make a panel that's the page size, like this. And the major reason we do that is so that it's supposed to be behind all the other panels. It ended up in a panel. I didn't want it there. There. That's where we want it. We seem to have lost something, like some of the panel. Let's try this again. Some reason, and I'm not sure why, when I set the border up, this big panel, it naturally puts layer 7 way up here at the top, on top of all of the other panels. And I really don't want that. So we're going to try to move it wholesale, the entire frame, to there. That's what we're after. And this way, this panel lives underneath all the other panels. The way Clip Studio Paint works, each panel is its own folder, and inside each folder is its own things. And effectively what it does is, if you're a Photoshop person and you understand how Photoshop works, it just makes a clipping mask the size of your panel, and then it makes a folder underneath that clipping mask. So any art that we enter into this page will instantly go underneath into the panel. So that's kind of cool. It's extremely useful. A little difficult because it always adds new panels on the top. So if you forget to do this like I just did, you're going to end up with a panel under the other panels. And this particular panel, though, is going to be what we call full bleed. That means that it runs to the end of the page and then runs off the page. And then whenever the printer prints the books, they'll cut the page, and it will cut across the panel. So that's sort of what we're working on here. So since you haven't been here prior or before, or if you have been, you've been lurking, I'll give you the warning that my cats are naked. So fair warning on that. They're kind of weird, but it's, I don't know, some people are funny about that. So I thought I'd give you that alert because we're about to set up the scene in 3D. So looking at this, though, the only problem with putting this frame in right here, frame 7, is that it blocks my safes. So a safe, if you look at all of these, this is what we call a text safe. And the text safe says any text in this, on this page, needs to be inside this little blue line right here, so that it runs no risk at all of being chopped by the cutter when the cutter goes through to cut the pages. So we have here is the bleed safe, which is this line right here, and that means any artwork you want to bleed, you can have it bleed past the text safe, but you don't want anything important. Like if a character is looking at another character, you want to make sure that their head is inside the text safe so that there's no chance of it being chopped. And this is full bleed right out here, and that's the end of the page. There is nothing beyond that. And so all this information on the outside is just information for me to remind myself, especially very important things, which I never remember. Like how big should my text be on these pages so that they're all uniform and stuff like that. So I have sort of a bunch of little cheats that are going on here. Oh, you know what I could do? I wonder if I can turn this entire one into a multiply. I can. Look at that. With this frame on multiply, I can see the frame underneath it. Ha 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 ha. So, and we'll have to just remember to turn it off of multiply when we get done with the other page. So, okie dokie. Let's bring up Daz Studio, shall we? Now, there's a manga out there called Gantz. And the artist that draws Gantz does the process pretty much the same way I do this, which is he uses a 3D program like I use here to set up the scene, and then he can put his characters in the correct place and do the correct scene sequence. And then he just traces over the maquettes to get them out of the way. Now, for me, all of this background I built. I built it all in Blender and then textured it and all that stuff. So all of this has been part of, we've been doing that over the last couple of weeks here on the show. So let's go ahead. We're working with Chang. The first two shots here are Chang, and the same thing goes for Chang. I built and designed. I mean, these models are DAZ 3D models. In fact, this program is DAZ 3D. But I took the maps of the character and redrew them so that they all look like my character. So she looks like Chang. Yeah. And we've got, okay, she's going to tilt her coffee. There we go. Let's try to, it doesn't have to be perfect in this case because it won't matter much. In here, I keep it so she gets retraced, but the coffee cup won't. So I have to make sure that the coffee cup is the correct way. Okay, she has an eye target. Which means we've got to grab the thing that she's looking at, which is back here, and move it to her coffee. And I have said before with this, one of the tricks is that people don't actually do their eyes. When I drink my coffee, I don't actually. I'm losing one of the connections. Naturally, it's Twitch. I can tell I'm losing Twitch. So I'm having a connection problem. So if you guys are seeing me drop, I apologize. Anyway, we don't usually drink our coffee this way. And we just usually look down. So not wanting to make her look too weird, I'm going to pull the eye target down further so that it's not quite on top of this. So she'll be looking, but she'll be looking past it, like here. Because we actually do kind of look past, right? And then we're going to move this way so she doesn't look strange. She already looks strange. I'm going to take this guy. He's going from side to side. Bend. Okay, so we're just going to bend our arm up a little and bend it out. she's not happy. She's awake. She's not happy about being awake. It's not one of her favorite things. She doesn't like being up in the morning. Yada, yada, yada. I mean, a lot of us, I think, can empathize. She doesn't appreciate it as much. She also does not appreciate that her friend has woken her up. There we go. We're going to be close on her, so it won't be... Might be more like this. Now, she looks surprised, like, oh gosh, it's coffee. So we're going to have to change her eyelids. Right? We've got the ability to bring her eyes and close them like this. So we're going to bring her eyelids down. Now, there's what cinematographers call crossing the midline. Crossing the midline means that you have two characters and they're talking to each other, right? And as these two characters talk, you want to make sure that you know the difference between the two characters, right? So we're going to talk a little bit about crossing the midline. So if you've got, here's Kirk, right? Kirk. And we've got Spock. And they're talking to each other. You want to keep all of your shots when you do 2/2, which is when you do a close-up on Kirk. You want to make sure that all of your shots are done from this angle. And you never want to flip it around like this, because then people get confused as to who's talking. Even though it's Spock, and he's obviously Spock, and he's obviously got Vulcan ears, you're obviously blind because the camera is not focusing on Kirk and Spock. And so they're blurry. So the only thing you know is the guy in the green shirt versus the guy in the blue shirt, right? That's all you got here. Right? So they're talking to each other. And when they do, we have to make sure that Kirk always talks like this. Spock, do you understand what's going on? I find your statement illogical, Captain. But do you understand? Right? So the idea is that you never flip this. We never say, Spock, do you understand? And then have Spock go, I find your statement illogical. Because now he's on the wrong side. And it looks and it feels weird. We call it crossing the midline. You can't do that unless you're trying to screw up stuff. So, the camera in this room must always be this side of the midline. So that's what we're doing here. Let's keep an eye on that. Because even when you're drawing comics, you want to make sure you follow these rules. So we're going to do that. We're going to render this guy out. I think we're ready to render him. Render. This is what we're looking at. We're good. And now we wait. Still waiting. Renders take forever. Although my renders are taking a whole lot less time because I'm not using the NVIDIA. I'm using 3D Delight, which is different than the iRay shader. When you're doing stuff like this, first of all of my objects in the background are static. I want them to render the way they are because I'm going to go in later and color the shading in myself in a different layer, completely different layer. So it won't matter. Yeah. All right. So the way this works is this is page 5. frame 1. That's how I save them, so they're all uniform, because there will be, of course, a number of frames. Now the next one, she's annoyed, right? So I'm going to I like to do this a lot with my comics. It started with something to make it easier to do the things, but as time has gone on, I actually enjoy the effect that this gives. And that is, I'm not going to move this camera. I'm going to leave the camera alone. I'm going to use perspective view and snap into her direct, right? And leave the camera. You can see the camera right here. Here's the camera. So I'm going to leave it right where it is and not move it. And then I'm going to put her head down because she's drinking the coffee. And she says, I'll be all right in a minute. And then the other character says, Lee, like as a warning, like, come on, Lee. And she goes, I'll be all right. I'll be all right. So she pulls this away. She puts one hand up, squeezes her face shut like this, right? So we're going to be, I'm all right. I'm all right. Sort of waving you off sort of thing. So that's what we've got to do next, right? We'll twist and put this hand out more, like so. Now, I actually have in my content library hands, so hand shapes and things like that. So we can definitely use our left hand and do a straight up, like, hey, it's okay, right? One of these hand shapes like that might be good, right? Because she's right. But I'm also noticing when I do my body on this one, I'm tensing my shoulders. So let's tense up her shoulders, right? Her shoulders are going to go up like so. Right? And her hand's going to go forward like this. Like, I got it, man. I got it. This is somebody who is not doing good. She's not doing well. So we'll bend up her shoulder here on this and side to side her drink because she's not spilling it. Not that bad off. Maybe she's that bad off, but she's not that bad off here. Right? And actually, let's drop it a little. Let's drop it down. She's got this. She's saying she's got this, bro. She's got this. She doesn't got this. Right? Let's change her expression. Why would you think that okay. Sometimes I wonder greatly about the logic of this. So we're going to take her head and twist it sideways. Okay? Because she's like, right? So let's go ahead and go to the pose controls. Her brow is going to be down, right? And inner down because she's really like, she's scrunching her face, man. All right, and squeeze the brow. We can even use a little bit of this angry, but I don't want to use a lot. The angry is a little comical, and it's not as good. So But if you think about what they're doing, I got this. I got this. I got this. Right? It almost looks like a I got this. It almost looks like a smile. Almost. Not quite. Right, so now if we look from the camera point of view, just like, I got this, dude. I got this. Right? Well, the problem is this hand is now out of frame. Right? And then this hand needs to be rotated. And now we can tell that her drink is about to fall out. Right. Okay. The maquette is not pretty, but that's okay. I will draw it prettier. The maquette's not doing so hot. Okay, now we wait for another render. And I'll do the render dance. It's like the hamster dance. Now, if I'd thought ahead, I didn't. I should have rendered the middle panel, the one that's the background panel, first. And the reason is because she's drinking her coffee again, right? And it's a pause. And since there's a pause there, she's drinking her coffee, which happens to be the exact same pose that we had in the previous page last panel. So, kind of thinking ahead on that one, I probably should have just defaulted. And what I might do is just revert, because I haven't changed Jen, the other character. So all I have to do is go over to Jen and make her sit back, because she's being patient. Warp. Weep. There we go. This is frame 2. That's all right. We'll revert. I've forgotten where the revert command is. I guess we'll just reopen. No, that's the wrong place. Good heavens. Can't read. So one of the things is I can't read words here. Control panel, so I have to go here. Anyway, we will revert. And what we're doing now is we're simply reloading the page where it was. She's drinking her coffee again, and this is pretty much the same panel we had before. To the content library. Right? And I'm actually going to click on Jen. But as is typical, so they didn't set up Jen correctly when they saved these poses. It's a flaw that many people who make third-party content for DAZ make. And that is they set it up so that it is, let's put her butt in the chair. Now, crossed arms is one of those that doesn't ever look as good as you want it to. With the maquettes. So when we cross our arms, both sets of fingers are on top, right? We've got this pose sets her arm or her hand like this, and this isn't the way we actually cross arms. So we're going to have to do a fix here on this because this guy really needs to be bent all the way over like this and then twisted. And part of the reason that they don't do this is because the maquettes, they're not, especially my maquettes, because I've modified them quite a bit now. They aren't as straight up as they used to be. Their arms are a little bit more anime. So I have twisted them a little bit, and they don't fold over like ours do. Ours fold really nicely into this. So we'll do the best that we can with what we've got. One of the things, though, that I have noticed is that these guys prefer to err on the side of not deflecting their maquette. It's kind of a little bit more of a thing here. And the truth is, you might as well just accept it. It's going to bend and be weird. The maquette's going to cross over each other like this. Right? Because that's actually the way it works. Our hands deflect into each other very well. So I'll just have to fix it when we get there, which is fine. I'm going to grasp a little bit so that her hands are like this. All right, now we know this can go out a little bit more like this, right? It's not like our bones actually cross over each other. They really don't. We just let's look at this. Okay, so this hand is on top, and she technically has this reversed. So it's like this. I guess some people do this. But I think only men do because really I'm crossing my pec doing this. And if you were a female trying to do that, you'd end up crushing your breast doing that. And that seems like that'd be uncomfortable, unpleasant, not something you want to do. So I can't imagine women actively doing that. So I'm going to move this back, move this up like that. There we go. Now we've given her actually a pretty operable arms crossed. In fact, that's so operable, I think I'm going to resave it as a arms crossed function. So save as, and I'm going to save this as a pose preset. All right. And it's sitting poses. I'm going to save it as 0, 1. on arms crossed. I'm actually going to call this bang bang, arms crossed. Test Gen. And we're going to fix the things that they didn't fix, which is in general, the transforms. We're going to turn off the transforms in the general because you don't need to worry about that. And the same thing in the general transforms here. You don't know what I'm doing because they're all over here. When one of the things that they were making a mistake of when they made these is they left the general transforms on here, and these general transforms, that gives where the hip is located in space and gives where the body is located in space, which means that anytime you change the pose to add this character in, it will move to the XYZ and the rotation of where the pose was saved. By default, I don't want to save that. So it's going to add that over here. Except it didn't. It put it in the sitting poses, which is somewhere else. That's right. It's okay. It doesn't matter. Okay, so now we're going to go back to camera. Camera is looking wide, right? Now we've fixed Jen. Let's make sure that Chang is correct. Perspective view, change to Chang. She's not looking at, we don't want her looking at Jen. She's going to take another drink. It's harder than it looks. It's amazing how much we move and how many little fine control operations we do. And you never realize it until you're attempting to stabilize this stuff. Now, she did just give the hand to say, hey, back off. I'm a Ghostbuster. So I'm going to have her still continue to move that hand as if it were in operation. All right, so like the hand is moving from where it was. She started with, hey, now it's moving back, right? Hey, and then she's moving it back. So I'm going to bend slightly down because people tend to fold down when they come back. And we're going to have this shot. Though it looks weird doing that way, so I'm going to do this. And here is our wide. Okay, so this is the super wide that we're going to use for Good morning, Brent. We're doing pages. Look at us doing pages. I'm doing the render dance. I like doing the render dance because down here I'm like tick, 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 and it's funnier. These things make me laugh. We got pages. We're on page 5. You'll get to see it in a second because we're going to have to go back over it because I've forgotten what the next two are. Oh, I don't think I moved her eyes. Yeah, I have to hand draw those. That'll be fine. All right. So we know in this big frame, we're going to open. Oh, I can't see anything. All right. Open to the desktop. And we're going to take this big one here and copy. We'll paste it in here. And that'll be great because we get all the width. Right, because that's what we really want here is this. Maybe even a little more like this so that I can get that. Okay. Now that I've done that, we're going to add its blank out layer. All right. And then frame one. We already have frame one ready. Do not save. Frame one. Looks like this. I'll copy. Paste. Here. Frame one, please. Thank you. There we go. Size it. What I was saying before was you want to watch your safes. So the important part is her eyes. So that has to be inside our safe. Copy. And we'll put a frame two. And I was saying that I used to do this for expediency. Right? I used to like do the identical shot as an expediency thing because you just render one, change a finger, and then render two, and made it really fast and everything like that. But as time has gone on, I'm trying to give more life to the maquettes and make them move more and things like that. But on the same token, I also feel kind of like we've got this kind of motion going between this now. Like you see her drinking and then you see her going like this and saying, I got this, right? And she's furrowed up and her face is scrunched down and you feel the emotion and you can see it through there, and it still works very well to keep the camera in exactly the same spot, because then it feels like motion, right? She's doing this. I got this. I got this. You know what I mean? Like that. And so I keep the motion moving, even though originally the idea was to do it so that I could make it expedient and faster. This actually will be easy because the next 4 panels are pretty simple. We've got just a simple smile coming from Jen. We'll put the white outline in it and bring this down to 70%. And we'll go to this guy and do the same thing. Right, I got this, we're under control, right? This is a pause. Now let's look at our original. The original sits like this, and these panels read, how do they read? So remember we flipped. You missed Kirk and Spock in explaining crossing the midline. Here, I'll explain it again because it was fun, right? It was fun. Here. We have Kirk, we have Spock, right? Kirk and Spock. They're talking to each other. When Kirk and Spock talk to each other, we have to make sure that we don't cross between those two at any point in time. Kirk and Spock must talk. If you do a close-up on Spock, it must be this way. And if you do a close-up of Kirk, it must be this way. You can't flip this around. If you do, you confuse your audience. This is called crossing the midline. So this entire scene, when it was originally drawn on my sketches down here, the entire scene was done this way. And then when I rendered it, I realized that this was a better way to render the scene. So all of our scenes are backwards as far as this goes. Then the problem is that you have Kirk walking along, and then all of a sudden, there's a problem. Okay, let me stay entertained. Actually, I don't. It's like the least important thing. Hey, look, though. I have a brush just for George. George brush. I don't know where George went. He was laying out there. And he was laying on the saddle stool. I have a really cool saddle stool that my dad got in the mountains in like the 70s when I was very, very young. And he got 2 of them. And one of them my aunt got her hands on, and it disappeared many, many moons ago. But he recently I stole it and brought it home here. And so he was okay with that. He couldn't use the saddle stool anymore. But it's break time, so what I'll do is I'll show you the saddle stool as part of the break, right? Once I get my monitor over here. So, a saddle stool is a little stool that you put, like literally you put your saddle on, right? And so it's designed with a holder in the center so you can pick it up and move it. And you can just put it down. And I love the fact that it has hooves. It doesn't, somebody really, and this is, if there ever was a 70s thing, this is a 70s thing. Anyway, it sits in my office and people can come sit on the saddle stool. But the one who loves the saddle stool the most is George. George loves the saddle stool because it's cool. And George likes cool things. He likes to lay on cool stuff because he's a cat and he's over hot, I think, most of the time. Which is okay. I tend to be overheated most of the time, too. Speaking of over hot. Well, I could probably leave it at auto. Anyway, saddle stool, cool. Just saying. Let's go for a quick walk real quick. Make sure we're shaking out all the body parts. Where did you go? I don't know where you went. Over here. All right. Alrighty. What a big. Okay, now looking at this, I see that this panel and this panel are almost the same. So I'm going to go on ahead and do this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This is panel 7. So we're going to take this. I'm going to take her eye target. Let's fix Chang's eye target. And we're going to take, and just like I said, we don't want to screw it up. So we're going to do this. We're still on this side of the line, right? And you don't want to confuse people too much. So we're going to try to keep it low, but I want to show where these two are relative to one another. Okay, so, and her head's going to be tilted down just a little bit because what's really happening here is that she's looking up like this. She's done sort of the, so the script says Chang asks her where the red dragon is shipping out to. Right. Well, anybody who's been in service knows you don't really ask that question. So now Chang is dealing with the fact that, honestly, let's twist this. And we'll put her hand in her lap. Just let it rest. Like so. So it turns out that wherever it is that Jen is going to be frontline-ish, somewhere sort of so the scene here sets up. There we go. Put her arm on her, rested on her lap. Ooh, she's got a blanket though, so let's bring it up above the blanket. And there's a blanket there. One of the things is starting to drop again. It doesn't look like Facebook. Looks like I might be losing. I don't know who I'm losing. I'm having stream control problems again. Like, I don't even know how to square away figuring out. Anyway, I'll just keep working. As long as you can still see me, Brent, we're good. Okay, so the other thing is we need to make sure we close her eyes. There we go. And we're not closing her eyes because her eyes close. It's because no matter what, our eyelids stay with pretty much the top of the what we call the cornea, the part of the eye, the iris. I'm sorry, the iris, which is that outer colored part, and our eyelids stay with it. So if our eye looks down, our eyelids will stay with that part of the eye. So as you look down, you don't go, because then it looks weird. So she wouldn't look at her coffee and go, that looks weird. So we're closing her eyes for that. And I made her look sad because she's probably sad. Her buddy is, it's actually multiple option things here. There's a couple of other scenes that we've got going on here. So the camera reads like this. And we're going to put this here, right? Because the camera is going to, we're only going to use this center section of this render. Does it feel to you like the camera is off kilter? Why would the camera run off kilter? Right? Yeah, the camera looks like it shouldn't be orbiting. I feel like it's orbiting. That's what it should be, right? Right through here. There. I don't know why we had a weird orbit on that, but we did. Now let's render that out. Render dance, render dance. No idea whether you guys can still see me or whether I'm out. I might be out. All right. We there yet? Not quite. Okay, so I can't tell. We're not broadcasting or not. I really can't. There we go. Okay, so it's kind of funny. The blanking out and then coming back is actually a glitch. And so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This is 7. right? I can't tell whether it's trying to tell me something. What is it doing? All right. Alrighty. So we have announced that Farragut Forward has been released, or at least part of it's ready. And so that's a thing we've been keeping under our hats a little bit. The Team Farragut, which is the group that, not that one, this one, the group that I worked with for a long time. They are just about to release their last episode. And I'm so excited. Frame 7. I don't know when Chelsea's supposed to be back. Chelsea now just drove off to Deadwood to be at the Deadwood thing. I'm not sure even what the Deadwood thing is. So, I don't know when Chelsea will return to Geek Tank. I miss her. So, we'll add a raster layer. Dreams are screwed up days. I'll post Farragut Forward stuff when we get there. Okay. These 2 panels, or these 3 panels, she's where's the Red Dragon shipping out to? And this panel is Jen going, like, I can't tell you, look on her face. I can't tell you. And then she's like, and this is Jen. So let's go back. We already have the look here. All we need to do is drop our arm. So we will do that. Right. I'm going to go on ahead and reset. Because she looks sad here. I'm going to pull the sad out because it comically twists her mouth. So instead, I'm going to take her brow and go in her up like this. That looks a lot better. And then we're going to take her brow and squeeze it so that it's more together like this. We want the outer down just a little. There we go. Right. Now she's not looking at her cup. Instead, we want her looking slowly forward. Contemplate. They don't look back down at their cup. They're going to look out here. So she's looking up at Jen, going, so, da 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 da. And then Jen just gives her the sad look. And she goes, oh, shit. So, because of that, her eye target isn't in her coffee anymore. It's now moved forward. And move out. And give her some contemplation. Right there. Actually, probably should move it more like this. She's going to find a place that's not in. Yeah, that's too weird. Okay, move it back to here. Right. Hit the camera button on that. Camera button, render time, render. While we're rendering, I'm going to remind myself that I have a couple more things to do. Good. This is check your lead. This is you, so it's number 6. It's frame 6. Now, when I have a number of panels in a page, there are many things that I maybe do. Open page 6 or frame 6. Now, I've said before that I only use 7 panel pages when I'm trying to do you really want to catch that expression. There we go. I only do, I've said this before, where I use 7 or more panels. The number of panels in a page I will use to indicate speed. Like, We have many things going on. So if there's 7 or 8 or 9 panels, something really vast and rapid is happening, and people are pushing buttons, and people are running around the ship, and like all kinds of frenetic energy. But I also use multiple panels whenever I'm trying to show motion. Like in this instance, we just have characters talking to each other, and they're moving slowly. Chang is this motion. This is all the motion we're getting out of Chang. And now that Jen has moved back to the seating position, she's got her arms crossed in the beginning here when she's annoyed. And then Chang asks, when is the red dragon pushing out? Where's it going? She puts her arms in her lap. Right, so this is a much more subtle, not frenetic thing. No. Messed it up. Don't mess it up. So this is more calm. Okay, that panel's ready. We'll hit the save button real quick just to make sure we don't lose all this work, because that would be unpleasant. We're on 5 pages in, and what did Guy do? He blew up the page. So I'll drink coffee. And look sad. Now, with all of these pictures, I will try really hard. Now, so these are all the same as far as her arm goes. So I can do this and just give a slight bend to the side, twist, right? And then we will take her eye target and we'll just move it out. I keep right mouse clicking like that's going to work, and it never does, because right mouse click doesn't work with these things. Somehow that has altered and changed. I shouldn't have used the camera for it, but that's okay. So we're going to do this. I'll line this up to one eye. Everybody has a preferential eye. That's normal. You need to stop being rotated. For me, my preferential eye seems to be the right eye. I think most people tend to be somewhat attached to the eye that I see that we are rolling again. We're spinning. So if you're not hearing me, just tell me. I think I'm funny. Okay. So Chang's preferential eye is also the right eye. We're just going to go in here and ask. She's asking a bad question, right? She's just trying to kind of make. Again, we don't want to cross the midline. Okay, good. I think I'm having problems with Twitch. Is what I think is happening. Either Twitch or Picardo. I'm not sure which one's not connecting. You look at the third eye. That's when you get people who are doing this. When they talk to you, and you're like, that's not right, people. That's not right. Because but I'm looking at your chakras. They're so pretty. You have a great aura. I'm going to make her smile. We're going to, there's a, I'm going to a function that I like, that I prefer to have. I'm going to give her still her half-lidded because she's still kind of sleepy, right? We're messing with stuff here. It's all good. Let's make sure none of these other ones are that way. But we are going to put her brows up because she's talking. And when she does, sometimes her eyebrows go up when she talks, and sometimes they go down. We're going to go up, though, but we're going to turn off the squeeze on it because she's just talking here like normal. So her eyebrows go up when she talks. Make sure that the rest of that's set straight because this is just her talking, right? And actually, we could probably make her do a little bit more of a like this, like she's talking with just one eyebrow going up, So, where are you going? She seems inquisitive. Okay. The other thing we want to do is this open face smile. She's trying to be cordial. It's morning. Give her props for just existing properly. Right? She's peopling correctly. So we're going to do that and then hit render. Do. Wait. We do a lot of dancing when we're on render days. This is a render day. The reality is, traditionally, I would have rendered the entire thing out, but that's boring. So not as much fun to do. I would have rendered everything in DAZ long before playing with it in Clip Studio Paint. That slows this process down a lot. This is frame 4. I would have rendered this whole scene and then just had it. Nope, she specifically says in the very, very first page, she says, you wouldn't have given me keys. So the AIs don't just have access to anybody's house. They have to be welcomed in. So Jen was the original ship's AI she was the previous ship's AI for the Kittiwake. And as time evolved, she became Mom. That was just her personality. It was the way she was. She used to be that AI. Jen used to work in the private field before she joined the military. Welcome into like a vampire once you do it. But before she was in the military, she was a daycare AI. So she worked as a daycare teacher, working as helping the kids and stuff like that. That was what she did before she joined the military. Then she joined the military, and so she's very motherly as a personality. She's got a lot of motherly traits. She likes being the mom to the crew. So she, after a while, Chang gave her access to the apartment, and then Chang was supposed to be reporting for duty. Most COs are, up and running 2, 3, 4 hours before whenever it is. And this is only 2 hours before Kittiwake is supposed to be spun up and ready to go. And Bennett is already on the Kittiwake at this moment, setting it up, getting her ready. She's ready to rock and roll and everything like that. And Chang isn't there. So Jen went to go find her. And that's where we start with this scene. Jen went to go find her. She's still in her apartment. Doors are closed. She's asleep. Jen's like, get up. You gotta get moving. Because she's a mom, right? She's the mom. That's what she does. So, yeah, that's where we are on this. She's the mom. So we'll go ahead and close this guy. But this is also the reason why Chang's not so concerned about being not in uniform, not so concerned about all of this stuff, because honestly, I'm sure that Jen has seen her in far worse shape. So part of where we are in Chang's life history, she's in a very low spot right now. Very, very low. She's about as crashed out as Chang is going to get, is right here. So from this point forward in the story, Chang is going to get slightly better. I feel like something just went kablamo. Something did go kablamo. For reasons that are unknown, Clip Studio Paint just moved to that monitor. I'm thinking we might be running really low on memory. Okay. Here, we're going to put this in. I'm perpetually humored by the fact that I only have 32 gigs of memory. She hasn't hit, right, exactly. She hasn't hit the bottom yet. But boy, she's close. She hasn't hit the point where the Navy is about to drum her out. But the Navy keeps putting her on crap duty in hopes that she'll straighten out, because the Navy doesn't. That's part of what's going on in this scene. Jen has been transferred. She got a promotion. She now works on the Unity Dragon, the Red Dragon, which is a destroyer. It's a larger ship. So it's not. She's not on this Corvette anymore. She's been moved up to the destroyer. And Jen is sort of in here, and they're clearly going to ship out the Red Dragon to the front line, or to where the action is. And in a way, this happened after another scene, which we will be illustrating at some point here, because these are all pre-scenes. They don't belong to the comic book. This is all set up, right? This is so I can practice, get all the sets built, get everything, because we're not up to speed. I usually can do a page in about 2 hours, and we're right now at a page in about 3.5 or 4 hours. So we're still not at speed yet, which is all right. We're getting there. We got to get back into the flow, and that's the point behind all of this. But another scene that we've got here is where she goes to the Admiralty and talks to the Admiral in charge of her battalion and her squadron. Yeah. Right. Well, the Admiral in the scene says it openly. You know, you once were a really good officer, and now you're like an idiot, and I want my good officer back. And she says, so, okay. And he's like, so spend some time on the other side of the wall, and that'll get you cleared up. She's going to have a year duty on the other side of the wall. So it'll take a year for her to travel around the wall, and that's okay. She'll be on the other side there, a thing, and she'll hate life, and it'll be like that's just the way it goes. So she'll go hang out on the other side of the wall, and we'll that's where all of our stories occur. The wall is a wall of highly charged hydrogen particles, which are right at the edge of where Bellatrix is. I think I've shown you the map. Maybe you didn't see the map. Well, first, let's finish this frame. Right, because the frame's here. we will work. Drop this back to 70%. So this frame is ready. And we will have only one frame. You know what? I'll show you the map in a second. Oh, you saw most of the map, so you know where the wall is. This should be relatively easy. The last one's an easy one. We select her face, and we close in on her face. And we get close enough that she can right? Like she's kind of sad. But also we tilt our heads back when we can't when we have to rebel, okay? So now we're going to take her pose controls and we're going to do this. We're going to take her inner brows up like that, the outer brows down, and then we're going to take all of her brows up like so, because this is a sad thing, right? She's giving her the sad smile, right? We're not going to use sad because it comically moves her mouth, and that's not what we want, right? So we don't use the sad slider for this at all. Right? We just go down here to mouth smile. Right? Just kind of doing the, sorry. Good morning, Donald. Welcome to the show. And yes, no, it's cool. Map week. It sounds like Shark Week. There was Shark Week and then there was Map Week. So, Donald, you missed us talking about drumming her out of the out of the Navy. So, okay, look her in the eye, though, right? Because we really do want to make sure we're looking her in the eye. And where do we want to put this? Right about here? Maybe here. There we go. Well, no, Chang is skirting the line of getting drummed out. And it's like she keeps skirting the line. Here's the line where she gets drummed out of the Navy, and she keeps yeah, you know. So we were discussing the fact that she is right now, you know, she has kind of fallen down, and she's here. This is where we are when this story starts. Brent had asked if AIs just can go into anybody's house. And I was saying, no, Chang gave Jen the keys. So Jen has the keys. Let's see if that... I actually think I want to make her eyelids closed a little. There. Not that much. And we'll see whether he's smiling. So he had asked whether you know, any AI can enter any house. And of course they can. I mean, technically speaking, anybody can enter anybody's house. I mean, you'd have to drive all the way back here, but you could just break in a window and enter my house. I don't have to give you the keys to my door. So technically, could an AI break into anyone's house? Sure. You know, it's all you need to do is break in like you would break in physically by destroying a window. But, you know, just like now, I have a ring on my front door, which tells me all kinds of cool stuff, right? Which I didn't know before, and I actually not sure that maybe this isn't a bad thing. But the point is that I think actually I will tilt down like this. So she's looking up like that. I'm sorry. I can't tell you. 9 to 10 hours. And here comes Brent. And so, but I mean, on the same token, could an AI break into your house? Sure. Mm-hmm. Right. Well, exactly. That's exactly what's happened is that Chang has been in the Navy for like 15 or 20 years. She's a career soldier. She's been moving her way up, and then she had a horrible experience happen to her about 2 or 3 years ago, which mimics exactly what happened to Cochrane in Tamerlan, and that crashed her out, and she's crashed out a little, and so but she still had 15 years of good service and only 3 years of really crappy service, and she hasn't done anything to threaten her crew or her ship or her command, but she's been stuck at corvettes and corvette levels for a while now, right? Because she's been having sort of this crisis of faith. And we get to go through her crisis of faith in the comic. That's how we're going to do it. So let's turn on this panel, because this is the last panel. And we'll do this. Nope. We're not saving that. We're not saving it. Open. So she's had this thing going. Oh, see, that looks great. That looks exactly like what we're after. I'm noticing that my maquettes are kind of rough. I don't know what's going on. The lighting is really weird, and I'm having some real problems with the lighting. I'm going to line this up so that they're exactly the same as much as possible. There we go. I'm going to put ourselves a new raster layer here. And we will color that white. White. And we'll drop that to 71. I don't really care. It doesn't really matter. 70, I don't care, whatever. Okay. So the page is ready. And I always save my scene where we were. Because we're going to start the next page from here. So we'll save that and close it, because we're obviously eating up memory like it's tasty. I don't know what's going on. Anyway. Okay. Let's get cracking. Cracking. Okay. Our first panel is here. We'll go into the panel, go up onto the... Oh, we've got to remember also to turn this panel back on from multiply to normal. Right, so that it's no longer... We'll need it... No, we need it back on multiply. We need to turn off the sketch. That's what it is. We'll need that one on multiply whenever we get to that stage, because that's going to be a thing. Okay, taking the crow quill. I like my crow quill. Raph got me hooked on this crow quill, and it took some time. I wasn't enamored with it right off the bat. Thought he was insane. I still think that Raph's a little crazy, but not necessarily about the crow quill. So there's that. Anyway, so we'll take the crow quill, right? There we go. We'll just add in all of this. Because of the nature of where we are, I'm keeping the cup. So because I'm keeping the cup, it actually causes a little bit more difficulty with this particular drawing. So I'm going to put her hand under here too, because I want to show that there's motion going on. And because of the nature of these things, I'm going to also pull down and come back across in a second, but we're not going to do that yet. And her thumb is funky on this, so I'm doing this because really, honestly, her thumb should be clamped down, not sticking out like that. Nobody does that. Who does that? Nobody does that. Okay, so the other thing we're going to want to make sure we do is follow the contours of the cup. So she's going to be talking here just a little bit, but not a lot. And then we want to make sure her face is like this. And then we're going to have a hole here. And then we're going to have a hole there, like that. And that way, this will cut out when we get to that stage. All of this will cut out and allow us to see the background behind it, which is what we want. Okay. And she's saying here, I'll be okay in a minute. Right? She's not going to be okay in a minute. She's still going to be hungover in a minute, which is funnier. When I originally designed this, my question was, how far can I push the Navy for the Navy will drum her out? Right? So the original question was, and this was to my friend who, I mean, he's an Army, but he's a lieutenant colonel, so it's not like he's low-ranking Army. So he's my bestie, and he and I have been writing stories together since high school. And so he's always a good go-to because I do a lot of military fiction, and I like military fiction. That's one of my favorite genres. So I like hitting him up because he's already on my style. He knows how I write. He knows where I'm going. He knows what I'm after with characters. And so I said, I'm looking for kind of Hawkeye Pierce. How far can Hawkeye go before they drum him out of the Army? And his response was, well, Hawkeye is qualified. So Hawkeye has a specific job. They're not going to drum him out in the Army because he's got a very important task that he's doing. Right? And so, by the way, one of the reasons I love using maquettes is all of her freckles are always the same. Because all I do is literally trace the position of her freckles. So these are all only Chang's freckles. I don't use this map for anybody else. I'm going to give her just a little bit of that under eye bump there. Because she's, sort of thing. She hates life. Wahoo. So the question was, how far can we push this till the Navy drums her out? And his response was, she can't be derelict in duty. She has to always be on time. She has to have her uniform pretty much straight, which isn't hard in the future world because the future world makes you a new uniform every time you push the little, beep, and your uniform goes, yeah, and you just put it on. So not a real issue on that aspect. She's not going to have that much of a problem with that. So her uniform will be fine. The question is, how much of this is she pushing? Right? And so, in a way, I have often seen this with people. She is drumming to get out. She wants them to fire her. She's trying to get fired, but she doesn't want to get a dishonorable. So, some part of her knows that if she pushes too much, she'll get a dishonorable. She doesn't want a dishonorable. So she's hoping that they will just honorably discharge her because it's better than the embarrassment of keeping her in the service or whatever, where she hasn't done anything wrong, but she's doing stuff that's wrong. I mean, honestly, we all know people who do stuff like that in real life. And that's where she is right now. She has a problem with herself, a very big problem with herself. And so part of this is she's struggling internally with who and what she is and what she's doing. And so she is definitely having issues. There we go. So the thing also about these particular things is we've got to make sure we exit and come back and then come back around and then enter. Because otherwise there actually is more to this picture down here, and it will fill whenever I do the fill thing. It'll fill that and it'll be really weird. Okay. I'm like, where the heck was that line anyway? Does anybody know where her eyes were at one point? Let's bring up the previous page. Where her hair went. Where does her hair go? There we go. So we're going to look at here because that's the same shot, right? The good news is my drawing stuff stays on top no matter what. So we're just going to match that. There we go. And we'll see where she goes in the show. In the story, we'll see how she evolves. Part of why we read stories, right? How will she get out of this? What will happen? Or will she end up getting herself drummed out? Where does she go? Right? So, all right. There we go. So sweet. All right. So we'll take this guy right here and go whoop and see if I've sealed everything up. We didn't. We missed something. Where is the leak now? Because this went correct. This did not. So is the leak here? No. Just make sure we seal up everything. All right, one more time. With feeling. Oh, I see the leak. Got it right here. There it is. Gotcha. All right. Bork. Take that, and we go to the white level. And we hit delete, right? And then we bring this back up to 100%. And look at that. And we hit deselect. The thing about this is that on the white level, we've got some pieces that are on the back level. We've got some pieces that we don't want to keep. So we're just going to go on ahead, and from here, we can take a large brush on this and just wipe that out because this is a close-up. And usually with close-ups, I don't have to do any background on it. So I'll just do this and wipe out everything in the background except for the cup, right? Because there's no need for that. We've got enough stuff kind of going on here. This is the comic book equivalent of just, not. So we'll do this, and then we'll go E, and that flattens all of this stuff together, except that I want to do one more thing, which is this. Let me go here, grab the coffee, and just grab the pen, go through here and do this. Right? In actuality, this coffee needs to be doing this anyway. Because she's drinking it, people. She's drinking people. It's Soylent coffee. It's people. There we go. Excellent. Now we'll grab that line out here and just make sure we've got her coffee cup covered. Undo. 1, 2, 3. So that it actually looks like a coffee cup. There we go. Now that we've done that, we'll then do this with a crow quill. Come in here and we'll just kind of come back with it here because it's sloshing around a little as she does the drinking thing. It's like a drinking game. There we go. All right, we'll take this and we'll just put in some curly steam because it's still steaming. Right. And we'll come in here. We're just going to fix a couple little things here. That, and that. And Okay, panel 1 down, and to panel 2, and we are actually out of time. So we got one panel. Look at us get one panel. Yeah! Right? We got ourselves a one panel thing going on. Let's see where. That's Alex probably saying that it's time for us to go for a walk. 10 minutes? Question mark? Okay. We have done good work here today, guys. Like I said, usually I can do a page in 2 hours, so this is going a little slower. We've still got another hour and a half, 2 hours in this page. I'll come back for my walk, and I'll finish that this afternoon and try to get that going so that tomorrow when we go into check-in Friday, we'll have 4 complete pages. So that's what I'm hoping for at this point in time, because 4 complete pages is better than no complete pages. So anyway, things are kind of getting hotter for Indicate. So there's that. So we'll see that. In the meantime, I'm going to go on ahead and head out of here and go walk with my buddy Alex, and he's walking me every day like a dog, because I'm not doing that a lot, and so he takes me for walks. Yep, I'm a pet. It's like realizing that you're an NPC in life. Anyway, Brent, thanks for being here. Donald, thanks for being here. And I'll see you all tomorrow. In the meantime, keep your eyes on the stars. Bye. Computer, good night.